So the game I'm showing you today is called Tyrannosaurus Tex for the Game Boy Color. It's actually a fully 3D first-person shooter for the system, and that alone is incredible and really fascinating. But what's really interesting about this game is the fact that it was first shown off in 1999, and then it was lost to time for almost 20 years. And it recently got the full release that I'm holding in my hands right now. It's got a really fascinating backstory, and I can't wait to get into it. First of all though, this video is sponsored by Bifrost Bridge Studios. Check the links down in the description below to find out all about their many different projects, from a board game, a card game, a graphic novel, and even a Game Boy RPG. Now let's get on with the video and let's find out what makes the history of Tyrannosaurus Tex so interesting. So as I said, the game was first shown off in 1999 at the ECTS trade show that year. It was made by a very talented programmer called Ben John, who'd previously worked on a game called Colony Wars for the PlayStation 1 when he worked with a company called Psygnosis here in the UK. He was at the trade show to show off a prototype for his upcoming FPS game in hopes of finding a publisher. Eidos of Tomb Raider fame were very impressed with what they saw at the show and signed a deal to publish the game. One of the producers at Eidos actually liked the project so much that he left the company to go and work with Ben to help him develop and finish the game. They ended up starting their own company called Slytherin Software, which is still going today, making simulation and war games. The game was progressing well, and they were making some bold claims about how it would have over 20 hours of gameplay and even multiplayer deathmatches. It almost sounded too good to be true, and some people didn't believe that the game even existed. The doubt eventually led to IGN getting sent a prototype demo just to prove that the game actually did exist. Unfortunately, just after the demo was sent out, Eidos decided to back down from publishing the game, leaving Ben and his new team once again without a publisher. They tried to find another publisher, but by that time the GBA was about to launch and no one was really interested in Game Boy Color games, no matter how technically impressive they were. When trying to find a new publisher, they were turned down several times because the game wasn't attached to an existing license, and the fact that the cost of manufacturing carts for the Game Boy would be too much of a risk, especially considering the fact that the game was a new IP. The game was completed, but no one was interested, and this is where things start to get weird. Ben apparently had a mental breakdown shortly after. He left his girlfriend and fled the company on a one-way flight to Australia. He took with him a hard drive containing the game, and the only thing left in the studio was a backup of the uncompiled assembly source code. The remaining members of Slytherin rebranded and set their focuses on making PC games instead, and as far as everyone thought, that was the end of Tyrannosaurus Tex. Skip forward 11 years though, and a prototype appeared one day on eBay. The final bid went to the owner of a website called NintendoPlayer.com at $720. After a few more headaches, the game was finally back in someone's hands, and it ran. It wasn't complete and there was still a lot of bugs in this version, but for the most part the game was intact. Skip forward a few more years and a company called Pico Interactive, known for re-releasing games on retro systems, managed to buy the rights to the game. They spent the next year or so fixing up all of the code and creating the box and manual that I have in my hands now. So I'm sure you'll agree that history behind the game is just fascinating, it really is. So now let's see what Pico Interactive managed to do with the final release, starting with an unboxing. So as you can see, the box is almost as if it was an actual release from the time. As far as I can tell, they are actually using the existing artwork from when the game was about to be released in 2001, so that's why it looks so much like an official release. Of course now it has the new Pico logo on the front, but apart from that this could easily pass as a retail game from the time. Of course it also comes with a full colour instruction manual which also looks fantastic and has a really goofy story as well. I'm very sad to say though that the cartridge for this one is using one of those really cheap cartridges that just say game at the top, and as you can see it was even a little bit deformed on the bottom. But it does play perfectly fine and the box itself looks fantastic. And now with the unboxing out of the way, let's take a look at the game itself. So apart from the awesome music, the next thing you'll notice straight away is just how good these cutscenes look at the start. Apparently they came up with a brand new algorithm in order to get extra colours and extra detail out of the Game Boy Color system. Of course the story isn't really the star of the show, but it does have a quite nice story, and after each level you get treated to another one of those cutscenes. The star of the show though is definitely the gameplay and the 3D engine, and I have to say both of those are fantastic, especially for the system that it's running on. on. As you can see now, it has a really solid frame rate, despite the fact that it's actually a fully 3D engine. The game itself starts off very simple and introduces new elements throughout the levels. As you can see in this training stage, it's just teaching you how to shoot, how to strafe as well. That's something that I was really impressed with, the fact that you can hold B down to actually strafe from side to side. And the aim of each level is just to get through the maze and find the exit to each stage. It sounds easy, but as the levels get more complicated, they introduce things such as different coloured keys, which can only open certain doors, and many hidden paths as well. There's not really much to the game. It is a very simple first-person shooter. There's a few different weapons and they work differently on different enemies. For example, there's this harpoon gun here, which works well on the dinosaurs, and a bit later on you get a machine gun that works really well on the robots. Another thing that I was really pleased to see as well that definitely helps with the gameplay is the fact that they actually included a map, which is one of the problems that I have with a lot of these older games, so I was really glad to see this. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually let you scroll throughout the entire map. It only lets you scroll through the section of the map that you're actually standing in at the moment, but it's better than nothing. And it also does show you which doors use which keys as well, which is really handy. Even with such a good map system though, I got completely lost on one stage. Just look at this, I'm walking around in circles with no idea of which door I was supposed to go through. Apart from that though, I've pretty much explained the entire game. It is really fun to play, and I'm very surprised that the frame rate and the controls hold up as well as they do all of these years later. Playing it on the actual Game Boy Color system as well, compared to the GameCube that I was using to capture the footage, playing it on the actual system is even more impressive. I'd never seen anything like it on the actual original Game Boy Color before. It really is mind-blowing stuff, and if this game came out at the time, I guarantee it would have done really well and it would have been known as a classic today. As well as on the Game Boy Color, I was really curious to see whether it would actually play on the original DMG Game Boy, due to the fact that it was actually on a grey cartridge, even though I knew this was supposed to be a Game Boy Color exclusive game. The thing is with the grey cartridges, they actually have little indents at the top which mean that you can put them in an original Game Boy. So I put it in the Game Boy and switched it on, and I don't think they ever expected anyone to try this because I was greeted by a screen of garbled text and nothing else. So there you go, that's what happens when you put this in an original Game Boy. I really hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed researching for this video and finally being able to play this game after so many years. If you enjoyed the video, please comment, please subscribe, check out my playlists. I've done loads of other Game Boy related videos in the past. And also, if you want to get yourself one of these t-shirts as well as a few other different clothing items, check out my store. You can either find it underneath the video or you can find it on my channel itself. And thank you to everyone who supports the channel. Your names are all going across the screen right now. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you all so much for watching. That's it for this episode. I'll see you all next week for the next one. Goodbye.